What's up, dudes? Welcome back to another episode of Rhomas Men's Team. Pretty simple. We are a group of guys helping each other make progress towards each other's goals. If you're new to the channel, awesome and welcome. If you want to help support the channel and join our pro team, head over to rhomasteam.com/pro, where you can contribute to us on a donation basis. We also give you access to exclusive content, mastermind groups, etc., etc. So anyway, hope you enjoy this episode, and we'll see you on the team. Mr. Ray and dudes, what is up this morning?
What's going on, Wes? Life is good.
Awesome.
Life is
we
good.
do have a special
wave,
guest.
I am.
Heat wave in Toronto. What's a heat wave in Toronto like? Is it humid?
It's a dream. It's sweater weather, you know?
Is it really?
Yeah, man.
What's the time? Just so I have perspective.
No.
Because I was never.
It's getting up to 80, 85 here.
Oh, is that hot for you?
Dude, that's objectively hot, right? That's like objectively hot weather. I know that it's a little higher where you are.
No. So is that miserable for
you?
No.
Like 90s. I think 90s.
Okay, because 85 is. Okay, got it. Cool. All right, so dudes, we have what's video delayed on the app. Okay, cool. We've got a special guest. If everybody sees Dima S on the side there, I just met with Dimitri, and let me know. So, Dimitri, do you want me to call you Dima or Dimitri? I met with him and his wife a couple days ago on the investment side, and awesome young couple, really up to a lot of great shit, and he wants to join. So he's on board now. And today we are going over this book, 8 Dates, which also Dima and his fiance are reading right now.
Issue on the tech.
So let's get into
issue
it,
on the tech. Someone else says that you are lagging on the video. Zach, can you let me know if I'm lagging and then if Wes is lagging?
But I think Denny said it caught up, I think.
Okay. So, yeah. It's caught up now. Great. Okay. So let's talk about chapter 2 of 8 Dates. For those of you just tuning in, 8 Dates is a book by the relationship guru, John Gottman, and his wife, Julie Gottman. They are the gold standard in relationship analysis and advice. When my marriage hit a couple of bumps in the road, I went to a Gottman specialist last year, and it really, really helped us communicate, and it helped us fight well. Like, what I mean by that is healthy conflict, and that's what we're going to be focusing on today. There's a line in a 60s movie called Love Story that, love is never having to say you're sorry or something like that. Which is way off, There's a key line from this chapter, which is don't avoid conflict. Avoiding conflict breeds emotional distance. And that, for me, that just electrified me when I read that sentence, because that's what it's all about. Growing up, I wasn't allowed to be upset. My parents were like, you have it so good. We work so hard. I wasn't allowed to be upset. I wasn't allowed to have problems. I wasn't allowed to be unhappy.
Right.
And then I carried that mentality into my marriage, where I would not speak up for myself because I thought I was replaceable. Right. And I just crammed it down. A real man crams it down. Right. That's what I told myself. But what it did is it bred emotional distance between her and I. And so when we went to the Gottman specialist, what he did realize after a couple of sessions is all he does is get us to fights and then kind of referees so that we learn how to fight correctly. We learn how to manage conflict and what he called healthy conflict. Go ahead, Wes.
Right. Yeah. No. So Ray, just so you know, I'm in the same boat. I was raised on the East Coast in Philadelphia, and for men, it was the same thing. It's like you push it. If you push it down until you fight, Like that was basically it. Like if you express any sort of emotionality other than physical violence, it's not cool. Like that is basically the script that we ran off of. And almost still to this day, like when I go back home, it's still ingrained in me. And what that has done for me in relationships is create a dramatically toxic pattern of where I basically am so avoidant of any sort of conflict until I just break up with a girl. Or like that is literally my pattern. If you look up my pattern, it's like, all right, well, this is bullshit. Like you can't handle your emotions, so I'm out. And I somehow like had it in my head that I was superior because I could handle my emotions better. And I don't think that's fair. Like after reading Gottman, that's not fair. It's not a workable pattern, clearly, as you can see from my, my current non-marriage. So that's where we are. So if anybody wants to comment, and if anybody's reading along, feel free to let us know and you can hop on as well. But if not, then just buckle your seatbelt and let's learn on agree to disagree. This is date number 2, which Dimitri or Dima and his fiance or girlfriend, Dima, I apologize if I'm mislabeling here, have also just gone.
You got to use the right
so
pronoun.
Right at the right spot.
Wes, it's 2022.
Yeah,
you gotta don't misgender, or miss.
That is exactly right. Mislabel. Right. All right, Ray. So, what are some of the key takeaways?
Well, just going through the text,
chapter?
Like they talk about Wesley and Marie. They probably changed the names, right, to protect the innocent. So, like, it's not. I don't think they're necessarily talking about you, but they go into this couple where they never fought, so they thought it was a perfect relationship, but his behavior was causing like resentment to bubble up in her. She never said anything because growing up, whenever her mom got in a fight with someone, they would just pack up and leave. So arguing and fighting meant an unstable life for her. And then for him, like he grew up in a single family home as well. So the TV was who kind of babysat him every night while his mom was working. So like he went to sleep with the TV on. She resented this. They didn't talk about it. This is the date. This is the date case study that they start the chapter with, or the second date. Right on the first page of the date, it says, "This state of marital peacefulness that passes for bliss that Marie describes is actually the quietness that results from avoiding conflict." And remember, I'm going to come back to this over and over again, gentlemen. Don't avoid.
Such a great line. Can you read that again? That was such a great fucking line.
The state of marital peacefulness that passes for bliss that Marie describes is actually just the quietness that results from avoiding conflict. And like I said, I'm going to come back to this over and over again. Don't avoid conflict. Avoiding conflict breeds emotional distance. And it's in that emotional chasm that the four horsemen of John Gottman's Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse can grow. And do you want to remind us what those four horsemen are?
I was waiting for you to bring this up, and I'm going to share my screen. So if people want to take a screenshot of this.
Exactly, Kaizen. Kaizen reminded me of what I've said before, which is put out small fires before they become big fires. That's exactly what this is about.
Yep. Exactly. So for those, this is huge. Like if you read the Gottman books, they focus so much on the Four Horsemen. So I created an infographic for you guys. I have a 1-pager, and then I have another 1-pager for the Four Horsemen. So I can also include this on the Discord as well if anybody wants to check it out. But one of the reasons that Gottman became so famous was because he could predict divorce with, I think it was like 90 to 95% accuracy within 15-minute conversation.
94%.
And one of the major reasons, there you go, 94%. It's crazy. And one of the major reasons is because they were able to identify these four horsemen inside of conflict in a relationship. So just real quick, like I said, I'll send this out to you guys. But the first one is criticism, then it's contempt, then defensiveness, and then stonewalling. So basically, all of these, like criticism and contempt, it's not addressing. Well, actually, you can read it here, right? So let's say a criticism. I'll give you an example. You never think about how your behavior is affecting other people. I don't believe that you are forgetful. You're just selfish. You never think of others. You never think of me. So that's criticism. You're criticizing.
This would have been something This would have been something that would have been bubbling up for a long time. Every time she sees him do something, she doesn't speak up. She just adds it to the list of charges, right? But that the indictment sheet that she's preparing for the guy.
Yep, exactly. And then now contempt is the next stage. And that's when basically you are, I believe, criticizing, but I think it's from a place of superiority. So the target of contempt is made to feel despised and worthless. Contempt goes far beyond criticism. While criticism attacks your partner's character, contempt assumes a position of moral superiority over them. So that is contempt. The next thing is defensiveness. Defensiveness is typically a response to criticism. It's nearly omnipresent when relationships are on the rocks. When we feel unjustly accused, we fish for excuses and play the innocent victim so that our partner will back off. So I think everybody's pretty clear on what defensiveness is. And then the fourth one, and this is what I am just notoriously responsible for, is stonewalling. So it's basically just when you just completely withdraw. You completely disengage, and it's like there's no conversation at all. Which, again, in my past, that's how I would view, right, like how arguments were supposed to go. It's like, I'm just not going to say anything. I'm going to zen this one out, and I would justify it that way. But the reality is, I didn't give us a chance. In all of my relationships in the past, I never gave them a chance to work through the problems. I just felt like it's like, oh, like I'll handle my shit, you handle your shit, and then we'll go out for lunch later on today. Like, that's it. So I am very, very much guilty of stonewalling. And that is still my natural default. And for anybody who has ever read anything on attachment styles, I'm classic avoidant, right? It's like if there's any conflict, I just want to walk away. Like, unless it's going to be a fist fight, I'm out, right? So it's like, I'll only deal with conflict with men, and I don't want to deal with it with women. And that has been very toxic in my relationships. Ray, are there any of the four horsemen that you are consistently guilty of?
All four. Contempt.
Yeah.
Like, think in any relationship, like contempt, I'm sick and tired of Ray keeping the toilet seat up, right? Criticism. She comes to me, Ray, you always keep the toilet seat up. Defensiveness. Well, I do that. Well, you never lock the car doors at night.
Right.
And then stonewalling is where I just turn over in bed and just like she's complaining, and I just wait for her to tire herself out. Right. And I could go on and on. Like, it's almost as if like, and you said you're guilty of some of these, I'm guilty of some of these. It's almost as if these are our default programming with our chimp brain or our reptile brain. And you're not a bad person, gentlemen, if you are guilty of this kind of behavior, or if you engage in this kind of behavior. That doesn't mean you're bad at relationships. These are the moves, the patterns that couples have been doing since time immemorial. This is how your parents saw your grandparents acting. This is how we saw our parents acting. And this is how we think we're supposed to survive conflicts, right? Like, we get criticism. We come back with, I might do that, but you never do. So and so. Like, it's just a natural punch back kind of approach. And but what we're talking about today is healthy conflict. So these are examples of unhealthy conflict.
Yes.
And then, but avoiding conflict altogether and just making peace is also the wrong way to do it. Quote from further down in the chapter. If you enter into any long-term relationship thinking that the hallmark of its success is a lack of conflict, you're setting yourself up for disappointment and failure. Because the goal here is to stick up for yourself and to tell your partner when something is bothering you and how you tell them.
Hey dudes, sorry for the interruption here. Just wanted to let you know, if you want to join our pro team, go to romasteam.com/pro. You can help support the channel. You will also get access to exclusive content, masterminds, one-on-one sessions, etc. All right, back to the episode.
Yes. Yep. I want to bring Dima on here. I want to see Dima. Don't feel pressure. I know you're extremely new to the group, but I'm going to invite you up here if you have time. Come on and join us, because he's already gone through the second date, like actually done it. So Dima, you're welcome to join us up on here and chat through it. No pressure. He's coming on board. What's up, Beast?
Hey,
What's up, dog?
What's going on? Hi, everyone.
Dude, this is Dima. Everybody. He just came to talk to us about investing recently. He was referred in by a client, and him and his wife, girlfriend, right, Dima?
Yeah, almost fiance.
Okay, cool. So they've already gone through some of these Gottman exercises. So Dima, walk us through you've already done the second date, right?
No,
so
just
what
first
was
one.
that like for you? And okay, cool.
Yeah, because this
So
actually
have you
second day
read
is going
through
to be
the
this
second
weekend.
chapter yet?
No, not yet. So,
Okay.
but yeah, so actually second day is going to be tomorrow. So I'm just like learning from you guys.
Okay, sweet. So let's chat through it. Hang out with us if you're cool with it. Let's hang out and let's do this. So Ray, what was the next thing you were saying about conflict?
Conflict, like that you don't score high on the relationship scoreboard if there's no conflict, right? The way you score highest is if you are navigating conflict correctly, right? Conflicts.
Right.
So another key line here. Marie and Wes, after they went through the Gottman method, Marie says, I almost look forward to our conflicts now because we always seem to come out of them understanding something new about each other, and it brings us closer together. So that is the goal, right? Like, for example, Ben and I are driving. I don't know if anyone can relate to this, but always knows which way to get to my destination. Ray, you should turn here. Or even better, it's after I cross the intersection, she says, Ray, why didn't you turn back there? Because she was using her ESP mental powers to like direct me like a Jedi, right? And so there's something about this that really makes my blood boil, where I feel undermined, or I feel like marionetted or puppeted, or there's something about when she recommends which route to take, it creates an outsized response of anger in me, right? So the old me would have gotten in a fight every single time that this happened, bark back. I'm the driver. I decide where I'm going. You just have to sit there and play your stupid like Candy Crush game. So I would really kind of like make it nuclear right away, or I would just cram it down, right? And avoid conflict.
Yep.
So either avoid the conflict or handle it in an unhealthy way. But as we'll go through the steps, we will realize, we'll kind of learn the right way to do it. First of all, understanding why it makes me so upset when she makes driving recommendations, communicating that to her, and her saying, I hear you and I understand you, right? That diffuses the situation. That communicates to her that this is something that really bothers me. This is something that's imprinted on me from my prior experience.
Dude, can I interject something there, Ray? Because I think so. Eventually, we'll get into the Gottman conflict resolution model, which I think is great, and I have other resolution models that I can bring to the table that I've learned from other therapists. But Ray, I think what you hit on there was spot on, which I do think is absent from relationship dynamic and therapy, which is your interpretation of the stimulus. Right. So for instance, like right there in that example of a conflict, I think you did a great job of now being responsible for why the fuck are you interpreting it so deeply? And will that impact your response? So instead of reacting to this, like, damn it, she's telling me where to go again, especially after the fact, why is it so powerful of an emotion for you? And by the way, like I have the same shit. Like there are certain triggers for me. So I wonder if we as men did our own self-homework consistently to the point where these types of triggers are not atomic bombs. They're just little thorns in our side. And I wonder if then that would allow us to go into the resolution models a little bit more tame.
Sure.
What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Now that I think about it, anytime I'm in a car, like I'm ready for Mortal Kombat, right? Like road rage. Somebody cuts me off and I take it extremely personally. There's something about being in the car that I get very wounded by other people's actions. Dima, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, feel like that always.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
So, and it's conflict,
Dima,
right?
what are your thoughts on it?
Managing conflict. We're talking about managing conflict, right? If my commute doesn't go perfectly now, and here's the thing. This is what I try to tell myself. Like I see someone pulling up in front of everybody to get on the highway and cutting right in the front. I have to tell myself,
yeah,
I do that once in a while. I hate to do it. I hate when other people do it, but I have done that in the past. You know.
See, but dude, that's an example, right? Like normally, if you didn't have that mental jujitsu move in the past, you would have been mad every single time, or like every single time corrects you on where to go, you would have been mad. But if you can do your own homework and have those quick mental models to be like, yeah, her just corrected me. I've done it to her in the past. I'm good. Maybe instead of it boiling to a level 10, it only simmers to a level 4. And maybe out of 10 times, now you only have to deal with 3 of those times, and it's only at a level 4 emotionality. Does that make sense?
And so, Dima, do you have? I hate to hog the microphone. So, do you have anything to contribute, or can we keep rolling?
Yeah, you guys go first. Sorry, I'm just learning. So
okay, no, you're doing great. Okay, so let's go into like problem analysis. There are 3 kinds of problems that they identify in the book: deal breakers. Right? Wes, you call these non-negotiables, right? And that is like, and that's different for every relationship. I think we can all guarantee, like, if a guy is hitting a woman, she should consider that a non-negotiable, a deal breaker, right? For others, it's sexual infidelity is a deal breaker. For some people, it's not. And then drug abuse or like substance abuse. If the partner cannot or will not accept help, that can be a deal breaker where the spouse is like, look, I love you, but I can't enable your drug addiction any longer. So the deal breakers. The other 2 are what we're gonna like. Those are deal breakers. Those aren't really things you need to navigate, because those are things you need to exit, right? But what we're going to focus on now are perpetual problems that can't be solved or will never be solved. Not in a bad way, but these are like things that, for example, Thea and take off their jacket and throw it on the couch when they enter the house, right? This is I think this is a perpetual problem because it's been going on for years and I've tried everything. Now, I'm not perfect. There's other things I do.
Yeah.
Right? Like I leave my desk in a perpetual state of messiness and they don't. So like it's a perpetual problem and I have to love and accept my wife and my daughter, even though they treat the front room of our house like a closet. And then there's solvable problems. So perpetual problems that can't be solved, and you just have to love your partner for their difference and be at peace with that. And there's nothing wrong with that, because you get to tell them that, like, because a perpetual problem is a conflict you can navigate without cramming it down and making it a time bomb. And then there's solvable problems. Solvable problems are situational problems. With you argue about housework, who picks up the kids on Friday, where to go on vacation. The conflict is about the topic, and there's no deeper meaning behind the position, right? They're like scheduling problems that you guys can work together to solve. He leaves the toilet up. She hates sitting down on the cold rim because it's been left up. Ladies, is this really such a terrible hardship? Anyway. It's an annoyance, but there's no deeper meaning as to why he leaves it up, right? So with solvable problems, there is a solution, and this solution can be sustained. You share the housework, you split the time picking up the kids, you choose a vacation spot. Solvable doesn't mean instant success, then it doesn't take work. It takes effort and action to keep the agreements you make with each other for the solvable problems. So solvable problems, you can come up with an agreement, you can come up with a workable plan. Make sense?
Yeah. Okay. So, yep. So basic summary of that. You've got 3 categories of problems. The first problem is non-negotiables. One of those being substance abuse. Quick little side note. My best friend just passed away 2 days ago. Actually, Dima and his wife, his girlfriend were there when I learned of it. And I can tell you for sure, like, I grew up with this guy and his substance abuse was hardcore for a very long period of time. And this is the closest dude in the world to me, but he drug women through the mud for years and years and years. And unfortunately, he was addicted to like really hardcore drugs, heroin, crack, like all that kind of stuff. So for all of you out there who are going through that like very, very, very difficult situation to the point where obviously it's totally understandable that's a non-negotiable. Like if you're dealing with somebody who's got a hardcore substance abuse, disease, it's hard to get out of. At the same time, I can understand why you stay in a relationship, but that's an example. And at some point, Ray, it'd be cool to do an episode with you, like on that stuff, out of memory for my buddy.
What's,
I still haven't dealt
what's
with.
What's his name? What's his first name? Do you want to say that? Joey. Okay.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Joey. Rest in power. Happy birthday in heaven, man. It's tough. So Dima,
yeah.
My dad was an alcoholic, and I came from a long line of alcoholics. I drank way too much. I wasn't drinking in the morning, but like when everyone was finished their first beer, I would have finished too. And like, you know what I mean? I drank faster and never knew how to turn it off. I quit drinking 7 years ago, and I told myself I can do any other drugs. Alcohol is the only one that I didn't have a gas pedal. Well, that wasn't true, because what I was doing was I was medicating myself, avoiding reality. And so I got into cocaine, and I did cocaine every day for about 4 or 5 years. We'll start on the weekends, then just at night, then just before lunch. But before, so now it's been 2 years, and like, my wife threatened to leave, and she meant it. And that was like, I'm lucky that I got out of that life, because like Wes said, some people don't make it, and to cut off someone who is addicted, it doesn't mean you're a heartless monster. It means that like if Joey had a wife who threw him out, or a parent who cut him off, it just meant that 2 lives won't be destroyed by this disease instead of just the one. Mm-hmm. So you're not a heartless monster if a drug addiction is a deal breaker. Now, again, and you know what? Maybe we owe it to our partners to tell them in advance what the deal breakers are, right? Like with some people, if she cheats on you, or if you cheat on her, that's a deal breaker. With other people, they can work through that. And so maybe we need to think about what our deal breakers are personally, and let them know.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. So we've got 3 categories of problems. First one, deal breakers. Ray, completely agree with you. Let your partner know up front as soon as you know what those deal breakers are. The second category of problem that Ray referred to are basically perpetual problems that will never be solved. Right? And the way that I have come to peace with this is Shaq and Kobe. Shaq should never expect Kobe to
pass the ball.
And Kobe should never... Yeah, exactly. And Kobe should never expect Shaq to be Kobe. Like, to think that Shaq is going to shoot 3-pointers is you just not understanding reality. To think that Kobe is going to become a 7'2", 350-pound dude who can just back people down in the paint, not going to happen. So, like, what are those perpetual problems? And then I think there's 2 ways of solving this in your own mind. Number one, reducing the perception. So, for instance, like in my last relationship, one of the perpetual problems, like I found that like she was a little too impulsive, but it's like, wow, the other side of the coin is like, that would create a great, like happy life for me oftentimes. Like she'd go all out for my birthday or something like that. So it's like that emotionality, the other side of that coin was sometimes emotional volatility, impulsiveness being one of those things. So it's like, again, it's the Shaq Kobe thing. So number one, I think reducing the perception. And then number two, like just realizing that like that's the way life is. That 10 or 20% that your partner has that's a perpetual problem. If you go somewhere else, you're just trading that 20% for either the same 20% or a different 20%. Right. And I have found that to be very freaking true in relationships. Like you're never going to get to 100%. And if you are, like, just wait, because you just haven't found the 20% yet. And then the third are problems that can be solved. So it's like, what can you do there, having those techniques to solve those problems?
Absolutely. And Dima, feel free to chime in on if you can think of any like perpetual problems from your relationship or prior relationships that really get on your nerves, but like if only we could tell Kobe and Shaq this, but that you manage to accept your partner for who they are.
Yeah, well, first,
when you accept what you cannot change, you accept each other. Go.
Well, first, I would like to add a comment to what just Wes said. Like, you never find someone like 100%, but you can work until 100%. That's what I believe in. And I haven't read that chapter yet, but like for me, I feel like all problems can be solvable. And I can't think of anything I can like off top of my head, I cannot think of like any problems I would not able to solve by communicating that. At least exactly. Like, the problem is like, I think communication is everything. And like that was, I had lack of. And when I found out that like, yeah, arguments are not bad at all. They're always good. I didn't want to argue because I felt like I didn't want to hurt the person. I think I might like hurt them, but then it was like compound effect, right? So I just like put like more and more and more, and it's like annoyed me more and more, and then it leads you to just to like break up and completely like blown out. And so yeah, like as I said, communication is everything. And even like today, actually, we had like a little like argument, like in the morning, like in the gym. So we were planning to go, we're planning to go like camping maybe. And, but kind of she doesn't, because I like dispersed camping, just like go somewhere and like random spot and like try to find a spot. She doesn't like that. She likes to like, like book like something before. And then she made a comment, and then I kind of like fight back. She said like, oh, I don't like when we go somewhere and like we don't have a spot. And I kind of like fight back. Well, fine, I'm just going to go myself, and then and then she's like, why? That's what I would say. Yeah. And then she's like, why did you say that? And I'm just like, well, like, I don't know. And then like, so we were at the gym, I had time to think about it. And then I realized this is something I like to do, but I did not communicate it to her because she doesn't understand why do I like it, because it's like sort of adventure for me. And then after the gym, she was obviously, a little bit upset. I came up to her and said like, hey, I'm sorry. And I want to explain you why did I say that. And so yeah, pretty much I explained everything. And she's like, why didn't you tell me that before? And I was like, I didn't know that before. So I guess the moral of this story, like, you like, maybe you don't know like the actual reason why are you like fighting like right now or like have an argument, but at least like you can think, and then you can like come up to your partner and like explain yourself. So yeah,
I love that. Camping, fine, I'll just go. I mean, there's so much that you just said that's very helpful. First of all, you like to just go find a spot. She wants to plan in advance. That's a classic relationship dynamic. Wes, you just talked about it in terms of her being more impulsive. In my relationship, I'm more impulsive, and it sounds like you're the more impulsive. And like, so absolutely. The second thing, when you said, I'll just go myself, that's happened so many times to me this summer because my wife just started a new job, 9 to 5, very stressful. I have my own business. So I say like, oh, there's an interesting art exhibition happening in Montreal. we planned to go on a weekend. And she said, well, I'm really stressed and I need my weekends to recover. And I said, fine, I'll just go on my own. I'll take a couple of days off. So I'm going to go have the fun experience on my own. And I'm going to be absent from our life for a couple of days. And we've gotten to the point where she says, no, you're not. You're not. You're not going and having fun on your own. Like, and it's not, and because it's like, it's important. And it's not just because she wants to have fun too, but it's important it's not just me having fun or her having fun. It's important for the relationship that we do it together, right? And I think that whether your girlfriend was saying that or not, that is the truth, right? That like, when you said, fine, I'll go on my own, you told her our relationship doesn't matter. Or that's what she experienced. That's not what you said, right?
Right.
And so, yeah. So can I keep pounding through the text, Wes? Okay.
Yep. Yeah, Dimitri, thank you for sharing that. That's spot on. Yeah, awesome. Please, Ray.
And it's funny, like you think you have nothing to share, but what you said is like so relatable and what we all go through, right? And we come up with that. We come up against that over and over again in this group where the most successful guy can learn something from the least successful guy, or the most unhealthy guy can learn something from the most healthy guy, and vice versa. Or the newest guy the newest guy can teach the oldest guy. Here.
Well, that's what this group is for. Like, you think about it, it's like the problems that happen every single day. Like when we go to Dima and say, hey, let's talk about this. It's from an hour ago, right? Like, so we, as men, we go through this fucking 100 times a day. It doesn't matter for relationships, health, like it doesn't matter. So it's like, let's talk through this shit. So fucking spot on, man. So yeah.
And so, but Dima, I will correct you. I will massage some of your language. Like you said, all problems are solvable. And so, no, the perpetual problems are ones that you cannot solve, but you learn to accept, right? Like if your girlfriend always overcooks the spaghetti and so it's like too soft, like you might not be able to teach her how to cook spaghetti, but then you cook the noodles and she makes the sauce, right? And you still love her and accept her even though she's not perfect at making spaghetti, right? Like, so that is a conflict. So you did not solve her spaghetti cooking, but you solved the drama that it causes in your relationship.
Yeah, I agree.
I'll throw something else. Oh no,
sorry,
please go.
Go,
no,
Dima.
I just like in
please,
this example.
Dima.
Yeah. So like if we're thinking about this example, you can just bring it up, right? Like politely in a nice way to like explain that, like, it's like it's not good.
Right.
Yeah. Maybe I should.
Well, I'll give another example.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I'll give you another example.
Go Wes.
Like I've got friends, the married couple, and the wife will get ready and she takes about an hour to get ready. Now, this for her is a non-negotiable, if that makes sense. Like no chance is she going to reduce her and then like it was funny because we were all having dinner. So she goes through her process. She's like, well, first I have to get a shower. Then I do this part of my makeup. Then I exfoliate. Then I do my makeup. Then I do this. Then I curl my hair, like all that stuff. This for her is a non-negotiable. Like literally you can, because that for her is a value thing. Like she wants to go out in a beautiful and elegant way out there into the world. And she wants to be that for her husband. But her husband, engineer, he kind of like him and I like get along so well because he's like, why? Like it's inconvenient for me to wait an hour, right? Like every single morning so that we're often late for things. So now they're at a gridlock, right? It's like he wants this, but like they're both almost non-negotiables. So, well, I shouldn't say that. They haven't crossed into non-negotiables. They are perpetuals. Like they're not going to change. So then it's like, I agree with what Ray is saying. Can they just accept it? They don't have to agree with it, but can they accept it? Like that's her, she being Shaq and he is Kobe.
A word about gridlock. Gridlock is when you're going round and round in conflict over a perpetual problem. She always causes you to be late for your events because she can't figure out what to wear and she puts on her makeup and does her hair. If they don't sit down and and address this conflict, if he just mutters to himself downstairs, and I've been going through this for 22 years. So like this again, Wes, literally this thing, okay? And then if I take 2 minutes at the end of waiting for her for an hour, she's like, let's go already, right? And I'm like, of course I have to go to the bathroom after waiting for an hour. Anyway, so I should tell her, I don't need to, anyway. That's the other thing you missed last weekend, Dima, was tell her. Like, don't tell the girl at work.
Right.
Tell your wife.
Right.
Yeah.
So, because eventually, if you don't tell your wife or your girlfriend, this will lead to emotional distance between the two of you. And this is the real relationship killer. Not anger or arguments or conflicts in general, but the distance you let it create between you. So you got to fight about these things. You got to fight fair and repair. Okay? When you fight incorrectly, when you let things, when you cram things down and then they explode, we get defensive, like you talked about, Wes. We criticize, like you said. We show contempt, like you said. And we turn away at the very moment we should be turning towards each other. That's your stonewalling. Those are the four horsemen of the apocalypse.
Stonewalling. Yep.
So we call these regrettable incidents, right? When these four horsemen get introduced. Sorry, an argument is like where you get mad at your spouse. We call these regrettable incidents. The Gottman's nice term for a fight. Master couples know how to minimize the damage from harmful words that are said in the heat of an argument. And the opposite of masters are disasters, right? So fight fair and repair. It's the fight recap that's key. And what you're doing when you're fighting recap, and it's like, we also know about it as reflective listening, right? Where it's like, it sounds, okay, so Wes, what it sounds to me like is that when I run the red lights to try and, or when I speed up to try and catch a red light, it sounds to me like you get scared for your life and then you yell at me. Do I understand what you're going through correctly? So can you talk about reflective listening and trying to communicate that you understand the underlying feeling? I got to go plug in my computer.
Yep. Yeah. So one thing in particular, and I had somebody do this to me recently, where number one, like they let me communicate the entirety of my feelings on a particular problem. And this happened to be in business. And then they were so gracious in letting me do that. And then to cap it off, they summarized it in like 2 to 3 sentences. And man, that made me feel, number one, so understood. It made me feel felt, as they say. Made me feel very understood. And then they summarized it in a way that actually helped me understand my problem better than I understood it. Because kind of like Dima said earlier, right? Like when his girlfriend asked him, like, well, why didn't you just tell me that? And he's like, shit, I didn't even know. Like, this is running in my subconscious. I didn't even know that it was an issue, right? Because whether that from like past trauma or from just how you were raised, et cetera, we all have that. Like, it's like, well, shit, I never really thought about it. So when you can do this reflective listening and then summarize what somebody just like mind dumped on you and then summarize in a couple of sentences, it's like fucking magic, man. Where like when you can do that, and whenever somebody does that to me, it's like, yeah. So then I can exhale, right? Exhale, and then we can get on to the solution. That's what I love. Like when somebody makes me feel felt, and then okay, now we're on the same empathetic wavelength. Now we're on the same team. Now we can move forward.
So there's 5 steps, gentlemen. You get in a fight, you get in an argument. Hopefully, you haven't compared her to Hitler or Stalin or communism, so like fascist, communist, or racist. Those are usually we want to avoid those kind of extreme comparisons to the woman we love, right? But you're in a fight about, let's say, I'm in a fight with about telling me which way to turn to get to the destination. I'm driving her to her appointment because she's running late, and then she has the nerve to like complain about my driving. Like this literally, right? Yeah, like she had her work party she had her summer work party on Wednesday, drank a bunch. I had to drive her to work on Thursday, and she was like, "Ray, can you please speed up? I'd like to get I'd like to get there today," and me like, so, okay. So that's what. So that is what I'm. That's where I go when I read this. Okay. The conflict. The conflict recap. Step 1: each person takes a turn to talk about what they were feeling during the fight. Were you feeling sad, angry, worried, lonely, ashamed, unappreciated, offensive, or any other emotions? Perhaps you're feeling out of control or confused. So I guess for me, that would have been, I felt unappreciated, right? Because like I was driving her to work to help her out, and I felt unappreciated. Step 2, so each person takes a turn to, and then so like, but then I have to shut up and listen what it says. When you were driving slow, it felt like you didn't care whether I was late or not. You didn't care whether I got fired or not, right? So like, so you, and this is going to be hard for the dogs out there. It's going to be hard to not say, yeah, well, you never like. It's hard. Listening is harder than you think, gentlemen. So like it, you might want a fidget spinner or something on hand while she's telling you your side, so that you can navigate this post-fight recap correctly. Step 1: each person takes a turn to talk. And that doesn't mean you get to talk. She also gets to talk. Step 2: each person should talk about how they saw the situation and their perspective about what actually happened in the argument. So from my perspective, I got out of bed, I made her breakfast. I got the car ready, I drove her to work. And what's the thanks I get? Ray, you're driving so slow, I could push the car faster or whatever. So that's how I experienced it. And the way she experienced it was maybe she needed to get to work fast because she was running late after having such a wild day the day before. And she really needed me to hustle. So like each person talked about how they subjectively saw the situation. Validate each other's realities. Validating doesn't mean agreeing. It means being able to complete a sentence like, from your point of view, it makes sense to me that you would have these feelings and needs. I get it. So validate each other's experience that they went through. Because they might have been incorrect, but that's what they went through during the argument. Okay? Hear them out. Hear each other out. Talk about how you personally saw the situation. Validate your partner's experience. 3, this is key. Triggers. In some regrettable incidents, not all, there are reasons the conflict has escalated. We call these triggers. They're old, enduring vulnerabilities that occurred before this relationship began and have left emotional scars that can get activated when you feel triggered. So when you feel triggered, search for a memory for a point in your history or childhood when you had a similar feeling. Triggers never go away, they endure. So for example, if it says, would you like, Ray, you're such a bad driver, and I just floor it to shut her up and teach her a lesson, or I jump on the brakes, like maybe this triggers a fear in her because she was in a car accident, or her dad used to drive crazy without putting a seatbelt on her, and it used to scare the shit out of her. So again, each person takes a turn to talk about how they're feeling. Each person should how they saw the situation subjectively. Think of the triggers. Why did you lash out? Ask her, why did she lash out on this subject? 4, accept responsibility and own up to your own part in the fight. Yes, I guess.
It's a tough one.
But just keep in mind that you're going to feel so much better after these 5 steps, right? Like, and Wes, it wouldn't be hard when we argue. It's not hard. Like when we have a rational discussion about how we argued, it's not hard to accept responsibility that you had an emotional explosive response to what she was saying. Right. And so like taking responsibility even for the smallest part of a problem in communication presents the opportunity for greater repair. So even if you say, I could have said that better. I'm sorry that I was so kind of like I can picture you, Wes, being very definitive and making like a 12-point bulletproof argument over why she should get vanilla cupcakes instead of
I've
chocolate.
done it.
And like, right? Like maybe you say like, you know, maybe I shouldn't have taken you to the mat on this issue, or like, you know what I mean? Like counted on this issue. Step 5, discuss how you might do things differently. So listen to each other, talk about how you subjectively saw it, talk about why you were triggered, accept responsibility for your part in the fight, and discuss how you might do things better. What's one way your partner can make it better if this type of incident happens again? What kind of way can you make it better? Create a plan together. So, like, even if she just said in the car, Ray, I have an idea of how we can get there quick. Can I tell you? Right? Like an upfront contract. Right? Or the route I took yesterday really worked. Can we try that? Rather than like barking directions at me, like I'm a chauffeur. That's an example.
Yep.
You know, and then I could come up with something like, okay, why don't we try your way today and my way tomorrow, and we'll do day on, day off, so that we both feel like we are in control.
Yeah. And a couple points on this, because I know that from an outsider's perspective, if Ray or Dima or me were telling, you know, a different version of me to do this, the first thing that would come up in my head is like a bunch of like monkey chatter. Like, no, this sounds ridiculous. I'm not going to do this. It sounds corny, but it's like, okay, number one, just try it. Like, unless you're doing this shit perfectly, unless you have like the perfect relationships in all areas of your life, then like, what do you have to lose? So then the other thing is, you also don't want to do it when you're in the heat of the moment. Like that's the last time when you actually want to do it, but that's the exact time when you should do it. So it's like when you and your partner go through this, agree ahead of time, which is why in our opinion, you should read this book and go through the exercises with your partner. Agree to play along. Just temporarily suspend your disbelief, like they say in Hollywood, and do it. It's kind of like working out. Just trust the process. Okay. And then the first time you do it, you're going to like grind your teeth while you're going through it. You're like, I really wish that you wouldn't do this because it makes me feel this way, you motherfucker, right? You know, like that sort of thing, right? So we grind our way through it. But then if you do it and you try it, I guarantee you get on the other end and you're like, wow, that was a little less painful than the way we handled our conflict and just threw ashtrays at each other last weekend, right? And then you do it again, then you do it again. And all of a sudden, now I also think, I think it's kind of like an asymptote. I don't think you're ever going to get it to zero. Right. I think you can dramatically reduce, right, the collateral damage that happens from your conflict if you have models that have actually been tested. Now, I've seen other models outside of the Gottman model, but I think that oftentimes they have a lot of similarities, right? Like active listening, reflective listening, like state objective truth, like all those types of things. And man, I can tell you, I've done this before in business partnerships. I've done it in relationships. And when I actually am disciplined enough to do it, it works. Like it legitimately fucking works.
Hell yes. Because we're coming up on the hour, I just want to review the chapter summary. And Wes, maybe we'll post each of the chapter summaries to the Discord for those gentlemen who aren't reading along. They can just get the bullet points. Conflict happens in every relationship and marriage. Yep. And it's a myth that in a happy relationship, you'll get along all the time. Relationship conflict is an opportunity to get to know your partner better and to develop deeper intimacy as you talk about and work through your differences. There's 3 types of conflict, right? First one is...
Are you pointing to me or me? Yeah. First one is non-negotiable.
Deal breakers. Second one is... Dima?
Perpetual.
Perpetual problems. They're fundamental differences in your personality or lifestyle needs. You're impulsive, she's more organized. All couples have perpetual problems, and these account for 69% of conflicts. Perpetual problems can become gridlocked problems when partners feel criticized, rejected, or unaccepted by the other partner. This can be a sign you've entered a gridlock. For example, Dima, if you or your girlfriend say to the other, you always do this, you always do this, right? That shows that it's a perpetual problem and that you have the opportunity to come up with a plan of how you're still going to love each other even if you don't change, or you can come up with a plan of how to try and change it, or a workable 50-50, right? Solvable problems are situational and about the topic. You know, where do we go for dinner? Where do we go for holiday? There isn't usually a deeper meaning behind the conflict or the person's position, so those are the easiest to fix. Approach, and this is the most important point, approach your differences with curiosity rather than correctness. You don't have, like, this isn't a debate contest where you have to win, right? The goal here is loving each other more, communicating more, having a better relationship. The goal isn't imposing a more impulsive or a more rigid household, like a way of living on your spouse. Have a genuine desire to understand the stories that are underneath the issues, especially with the triggers. Like, if you can understand the triggers that your wife has, you can have compassion for why she acts the way she does. And yeah. Wes?
Yep. Hell yeah. Dude, I think great summary. Please, guys, go through this. Use it as an actual workbook. Dima, thank you so much for coming on, brother. And thank you for reading this book and actually going through it. I'd love to hear the results of it. And yeah, let's keep going forward. Dima, anything else to cap off,
thank
brother?
you for inviting. I just wanted to add, like, the way how you communicate the problem. You can say, hey, you do this, like, that I would be better, like, if you wouldn't do that. But, like, if you come from the point, like, hey, you know what? So, like, I kind of, like, feel something. I don't want to, like, you, like, be offended by me telling you that, but, you know, like, maybe we can talk about it. Kind of like, you know, the way when it's not going to be taken as an aggression or, like, as, like, an invitation to discussion. So that's just, like, I would like to add. But yeah, thank you for inviting. And yeah, that was really awesome. Thank you.
That's great.
Hell yeah, brother. All right, dudes. Go kill the weekend. I love you guys and have a great weekend.
Let's do date number 3 on Monday, all right? Okay, gentlemen. See you then.